Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We caught up earlier today with Kevin Kehoe. He's the CEO at Everett Gold Corp, TSXV listed gold explorer with assets in BC, also down in Nevada. We talked to them about their recent raise and their plans for that money, how they're allocating it, and where they're going to create some value. Share prices come off, and he talks to us about what he's going to do about that. So if you want our thoughts and opinions on the conversations, topics discussed, and indeed the company itself, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club. Where you can also find detailed company reports and analysis. There's commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of companies and commodities, including gold on our weekly shows. There are training courses on there to help you with your own diligence process. And we do summaries of all the interviews that we do to save you some time because we know you're busy. And if you do want to join a thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other in a nice, friendly and safe environment, free from judgment, trolling and abuse, you can join them at cruxinvestor.com/club. Hope you think that sounds nice, because it is. And we'd love your feedback too. So give us a like, it'd be appreciated. If your thoughts below, we get back to absolutely everyone. And if you want to see precisely what we talked about today with Kevin, take a look in the description below. Kevin, how are you, sir?
Pretty good, Matt. Good to see you again, of course.
Long time. Last May.
Yeah. Has been a full year, and I think there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then. So we've got a lot to talk about.
Good. And how have you been keeping? How are you? You surviving?
Well, like everybody, I haven't exactly enjoyed the last year. In many ways, it's been easier to do business, hasn't it? But I've not actually enjoyed being away from the crowds. I like the hubbub of those shows. There's been none of that, right? And I think that's true for a lot of people. We used to complain about the shows, how crazy busy and tight, but you actually miss things about those shows. So I'm looking forward to getting back to it.
Like an addict that you are.
I am. That's true.
Hey, well, thanks for coming back on the show. I want to see what was going on there. Before we get into it, why don't you give people a reminder of what it is that you are with a 1-minute overview, and I'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, we're a gold, or let's call it a metal exploration company. Our focus is gold, silver. We happen to find some copper in the big Saddle play up in northern BC, Saddle Gold. So it's gold, silver, and that's our focus. Canada, primarily northern BC, Golden Triangle, Toodoggin, north of Benchmark. And then we picked up a property in Nevada not long ago called Rockland. All three of these deposits, all three of these properties are similar in character. They're epithermal systems. So basically high-grade gold, silver is generally what we're looking for there. Fairly new company, well-capitalized, and a very good team of people. We've been through the ups and downs in this business.
Yeah, you definitely have been through the ups and downs. I think last time we spoke was around the beginning of May. Stock shot up 30% after the interview, kept going till July, and then it's been a steady decline down now to, whatever it is, 28 cents. What's been going on?
Well, we're back, of course, to where we started. We did our IPO in 2019, and so we're back there now. If you ask me, I'm not totally surprised. To give you an example, a lot of early stage investors don't really understand how volatile this business is. And a lot of them kind of think that you can guarantee a discovery of merit that'll get the stock out the door and hold it up there indefinitely once it gets up there. That's usually not what happens. Even if you discover something in your first kick at the can that's really exceptional, and usually geologists know in the field whether what they found has the wherewithal to become a mine. They know that fairly soon because of the widths and grades, but it still won't prevent you often going right back to where you were. Now, we did not discover last year, we did not deliver rather results that were exceptional enough to drive us to several dollars. We did that with the GT Gold Saddle discovery in 2017, which you might have noted Newmont just bought them out a week ago. I set up that company. Charlie Gregg and I led the exploration. We knew in our first phase of drilling that we had a discovery of merit that could become a mine. And it's going to be a huge mine and a very long life, rich mine. And it's not far from a highway. But that drove us to about $2.80. And we went right back over the next several months to 45 cents. That's where we started with GT before delivering the results. So here we are at Evergold. We actually did deliver a couple of very promising, on the one hand, it's a greenfield discovery, the Snowball prospect. It's right in the heart of the traditional Golden Triangle, and it's genuinely new. It's on top of the mountain way up there. Shows all the promise of being in place for a long way down. It's kind of discovery, that the Golden Triangle is built on. And over at Golden Line, we demonstrated with the drilling that we have a huge gold zone in place there, and we think it's sitting on something better. So the intercepts that we delivered from both those projects didn't really set the market on fire, right? We didn't deliver what the market wanted, which would probably be, tens of meters of genuine high grade. We got high grade, we got tens of meters, but the tens of meters was low grade. So I guess the only other point I'd make relevant to this is usually we hope to have 2 phases at least in our first kick at the can. Both those projects, it was our first kick at the can, because you always face a lot of challenges, just practical challenges, weather and other things, when you set out. And we got 2 phases with GT and Saddle several years ago. It was really the second phase where we blew it open in terms of Saddle North discovery. We didn't get a second phase at either Golden Line or Snowball last year. We had 1 phase only, and not much in the way of meters, really, in the grand scheme of things. We think we learned enough from that first phase to really get much better on the next go around. And that much better in a year where things worked out better would have occurred last year. So we're trying to do soon what we had hoped maybe to get to doing last year, but just couldn't quite get there.
Couldn't get there, why?
Because of a couple of things. Our timing was bad. We got started later in the season. The weather was horrible at Snowball. We hadn't actually drilled there before, but it wasn't just the weather. Well, just briefly on the weather to give you an idea what happens. Have you ever been to Cape Town, South Africa?
I have, yes.
So the Table Mountain phenomena. They've got the devil's blanket.
Yep.
It's flat, but on a clear day, there will be a blanket of fog in the lee side of that mountain. Usually there is. They call it the devil's blanket, right? Anyway, and there's an interesting story about that. I won't go there. We had a similar phenomenon at Snowball, where it would be clear for miles around, even though it is a miserable kind of weather part of the world, but it would be clear on those lovely days where normally you'd fly. There'd be that whole top of the mountain fogged in because there's a glacier in the lee of it. So it prevented basically our flying. Like we could not fly for days on end up there. The drillers would get stuck up in their survival shack for 36 hours straight. So our productivity was half of what we had hoped it would be. The rock was also very weathered. And so it was a struggle. And then the assays were really, really bad. So we just couldn't get there. And that affected our ability to finance, right? We was Saddle at GT a few years ago. We did the same thing. We had a phase 1 program, and we delivered sufficiently good results that we were able to finance a second phase right in the middle of the summer. And we weren't able to do that with with Evergold, So, I'm philosophical about it. I mean, you do know you're going to face these challenges. We faced more than we thought. And over at Golden Line, it took us longer to get our camp in place than we thought it would, because it's more remote, that property. And but the camp is there now. It's ready to go.
Right. That sounds like a whole bunch of excuses to me. The weather hasn't changed in those areas. You must have known what you were getting into. You must have. Give me the solutions that you're going to come up with, because you talk about you knew at GT phase 1, we knew we had something there, and we did. You've done phase 1 here. You feel that you know enough now about how you should perhaps tackle it in phase 2. right? Which is great, but where's the confidence? Where's the confidence coming from that you're going to get it right now with this new money that you got? You raised some money in February, right? A lot of money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, we did. And in fact, that should inspire some confidence as well, because we raised that very quickly and it was a bought deal, right? We didn't do any bought deals before. That one did. And we have now got about 33% institutional ownership, which is rather unusual for a very early stage micro cap company like this, right? So why we did it, going back to what you're saying before, yeah, it doesn't, all of those things are excuses. In fairness to the people who manage these companies, there are some things you cannot predict ahead of time, like the quality of the rock is one thing. If no one's ever drilled it, you just don't know what your actual meterage rates are going to be, So, when we did discover and we did deliver results of merit last year, what we delivered those results were not enough to make it evident to the market that there could be a mine. Yeah. So I guess what we're looking for now and what we did deliver and what we're going to build on in the current year is the fact that we've got high grade results. We've got a big system in place at both Snowball and at Golden Line. To give you an example of that, at Snowball, we're at the highest elevations on the whole property. We're right on top. If anybody wants to go and look at the videos, they can see the pad on top of the mountain. We've got hundreds of meters of elevation below us to drill. It's virgin, and we're on top with high grade. So we expect we're going to get better widths, maybe very strong widths, and better intercept grades as well coming from there. Over at Golden Line, again, we've shown the market this in our presentations. I update those regularly. We have a big gold zone, and it's been drilled by ourselves and Newmont way back when. It's 800 meters long, this zone. It's been drilled. But the geophysics we did is really exciting because it shows that the best geophysical response is below where anybody is drilled, which means that's the immediate target for our next phase. And if we had known about that last year, which we didn't because we didn't get the geophysics finished till early September, we would have been drilling it last year.
Let's talk about what you think, because I'm looking for reasons to buy this thing, okay? Because it's 9 million market cap, okay? Half of what it was when we spoke a year ago, and probably a third of what it was from the highs of last year. Okay, so I'm either trying to work out whether I should be running away from this thing or running towards it, right? So talk to me about what you're going to do with the money precisely at Golden Line and Snowball, because I noticed you picked up Rockland, and I'm trying to work out, have you bought that because you know something about Snowball and Golden Line that you don't like, and you're trying to give yourself some optionality, or what? So maybe we'll come on to Rockland in a second. Tell us, what are you going to do with the cash? Where's it being allocated?
Yeah, the bulk of the cash we raised is going to Snowball and Golden Line. And to give you an idea, we've got they're roughly similar programs. We've got about 1,500 meters or $1.5 million going into both Snowball and Golden Line. That is $3 million in total, right? $3 million. That'll be roughly 2,500 meters of drilling into both, right? And it'll be targeted very specifically. Last year, we had more of a broad brushed approach. We didn't quite know where we'd get the best response. And going to Snowball again, last year, we didn't, we were very limited where we could drill up there, if you've seen the extreme topography. This year, we know where we can drill. We can put new pads in. So we're going to start with probably about 4 pads at Snowball, and it'll be down mountain focused on this area where we just released results from. A few weeks ago, we put out very high grade rock and soil samples. We basically put our finger after the season closed last year, drilling. After the drilling season stopped, we went back to Snowball and we trenched into the side of the Pyramid Peak. We actually found disseminated material encapsulating high-grade veins, which promises to give us much better widths and grades than we got last year. That may be the sweet spot, right? It's the sweet spot's really what we're all looking for in these systems, right? And you never quite know where you're going to get it. So we may have found it. It appears we have. And if so, we're going to try to follow it to depth. And that could get very exciting. Over at Golden Line, I mentioned already that we did the geophysics, and anybody viewing your show today can see that, right? They can go and see what I'm talking about. But basically, there's a very sweet looking, strong chargeability and resistivity anomaly that's just below the historical drilling. It's very evident on the section views that we couple the geophysics with the drill results, right? That's the immediate target. We think that may be the core of the epithermal system down there. Now, we could be wrong. You know, it's not a totally risk-free game, as you know, but it's actually the work we did last year has given us very crisp targets to focus on this year. Just flipping over now to Rockland because it's relevant. You know, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, there is some optionality in that, right? We are very limited seasonally in northern BC, right? Everybody knows it. Nevada is a good place to work, both because of the weather, but also because it's very welcoming of this sort of work. But I have to tell you also honestly that we didn't actually buy it for that reason. What happened was in August, our key technical guy, Charlie Gregg, Charlie was down there on other business for another company. And one of our directors, Darwin Green, who's with High Gold, Darwin actually knew the vendor of this property, and he liked it. He was thinking of High Gold, right? But they had other things. So he sent Charlie by to have a look at it, or suggested Charlie go, and Charlie liked it a lot too. And I wasn't keen initially. I don't like to get off into other things. But, you know, I looked at it and I thought, you know, it's pretty similar to Golden Line because it's got a big drilled gold zone on it, and BHP had it, right? Newmont's been involved, or BHP, in all these places. It's drilled, it's 800, but where the real upside at Rockland is, it's got a really strong arsenic and antimony trace element, gold, silver, halo or signature. We think it's sitting on top of an untouched Midas style or sleeper mine style high grade down in Nevada. They call them bonanza plays, right? It shows the hallmarks of being that halo over an untested high grade system. So we're going after high grade there, and that gold zone at Rockland I talked about, it's not evident on surface, so it's not a bulk tonnage thing or anything. It's down about 150 meters. So there's no chemistry on surface that would show it's there. It was drilled because of the alteration, and there was evident on surface. So that's exciting because we think the system's preserved, but we don't need to do much on that property this year in terms of the money. I budgeted about $400,000 for it. We're already doing work in terms, we've got really good data, which is it's hard to get good data on Nevada plays, because, you know, every Tom, Dick, and Harry's got their own data set, and they're all dispersed all over the place. So we happen to have almost all the historical data and have already worked and done our modeling on that stuff. So we're just getting into the permitting process. It won't be until sometime next year that we drill it.
Okay, fine. So how much did you pay for it, or how did you pay for it?
Well, it was a 5-year deal, right? Staged payments of cash, also a royalty. You know, you've got me on the numbers right now. I'd have to double check, but basically it's several $1 million in cash over a period of time, and payments of shares as well. Right. But that comes in years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right. So you've got $400,000 you're spending on it. between now and some point next year when you decide where and when and how much to spend on drilling. So let's come back to the Golden Lion snowball component. How you've told us how much you're going to spend, how many meters you're going to drill. So $3 million worth there, and you raised $8 million. How much cash will you have left?
Yeah, well, the agents and everyone take their share, and so we have $7.5 million right now, and I've allocated that after the initial phase of work. I mean, maybe we get lucky and we really hit it in the first few holes and don't even have to do 2.5. To hit these targets, we don't have to drill 2,500 meters. I mean, we could hit if the juice is there, we could hit on our first holes. In any event, we have allocated about $2.5 million just as a set aside. So we really, encompassing even G&A, our G&A last year amounted to about $70,000 a month, right? $70,000 a month, which is very low for if you compare that to the bulk of our peers. And I'm talking about everything, right? I'm talking about office costs. I'm talking about marketing, IR, travel, all of it. $70,000 a month. Well, we budgeted, $100,000 for the current year. So we've set aside $1.2 million for, 12 months. Just put that aside. $3 million on the exploration for Golden Lion and Snowball, $400,000, down in the United States. And then basically we've got another $2 million above that, which takes us to over $7 million that we will just sit on and see what happens. And it'll be deployed to a second or ramping up the programs that are coming this summer if the results warrant.
Right. I know you're a good geologist. I've been told you're a good geologist, but do you feel that with the market cap where it is, share price having done what it's done for the last 9 months, you're going to have to stop behaving like a geologist and start getting a bit cute with the market? I'm talking about giving them the headlines that they do want. Do smaller step outs from your high grade discoveries. Do give them the market the numbers that they require just to be listened to, because there's a sea of noise out there which are delivering better headlines than you. Yeah,
and you do need to be skeptical of some of those other headlines, because I've seen a lot of stocks flying like, if you're hot in rare earths or lithium or this, that. A lot of those companies have a lot less than we've got, i.e. they've not done anything, they've not drilled, they don't have zones. We have gold zones and silver zones that are in place on these properties that have been drilled.
So what have you got to do? What have you got to do? You got to get noticed.
What we need to do, the only thing you can ever do in this business, you got to deliver great intercepts that have that sweet combination of width and grade, gram meters. And that can be like gram meters, you got to be delivering numbers that are over 100, right? 130, maybe, 500, 700 with some consistency, right? That's what you got to do. And that's what we're going to try to do. We have a sense from the work last year that we are just sniffing the fringes. And now we've got to get and burrow into the heart of it, right? And then, by the way, I'm not the world's greatest geologist. Your people shouldn't think that. Yes, I'm a geologist, but really, I spend most of my career bird dogging deals in the investment banking world. And so it's mainly been marketing and selling. And the thing I can tell you, though, about this business, you can't kind of artificially create numbers and those numbers out there hyped and think that that's going to sustain your effort. Maybe people who are foolish will buy that pitch, but it doesn't get you far. People can pick up on hype, and they can pick up on all that glorious, exceptional, wonderful language that is used. It's frankly bullshit, and people can read most of it pretty quickly. So, I tell people that This is a really high risk, very volatile little business we're in. Even if you've got really good people and honest people, the stocks will be very volatile. I'm not sure to what degree a lot of people really pay attention to what you tell them, right? Or to really, because I get questions from investors which indicate they just don't get it. Like, I mean, they don't understand what they're really buying into. So to give you an example, Matt, I tell people honestly with these early stage stories, right now with Evergold is a good time to get in because we are low, because it's the beginning of the new cycle, because there's going to be marketing and all of that's, ramping up now, partly with the proceeds of the last financing, which is why I'm speaking to you. All of that's ramping up. We've got our money and we're going to be drilling for the only thing that counts, better results, right? So there's a good prospect that we always seem to go up even ahead of the drilling. So you buy now. If we get up there, I always encourage them to take some money off the table before the drill results come out, because we can't guarantee what they are, even if we're excited in the field. Even if we're excited in the field and can see good looking stuff and can see it with XRF values and things, you're so often disappointed, right? It like gold can be there, but it may not be in that wonderful looking intercept, right? So you have to be cautious. So I tell them, take some off, recapture your capital, your outlay at that point, and let the rest ride. If you're feeling good, let it ride. Because if we do hit, then yes, we've demonstrated, it's been true in all the plays I've ever been involved with, all of them, that if you do achieve results that are significant, you will go much higher and much higher faster. But don't count on getting those results for certainty. If you do capture a profit, take some of it, especially get your capital back before the news comes. And don't put too much of your money into any one of these little stocks,
Okay, so talk to me about some of the things you can control. The weather you can't. Assays, you can do more, can't you? You can't sit around and wait for assay results.
One thing I haven't mentioned we're going to try this summer, actually, it comes back to what you were saying before about what can you do to really give the market maybe more sooner. We thought about that, yes, over the winter, but you got to think about what can you do that's real results as opposed to just hyped air. We are actually going to deploy this summer one of these little drills. It's in parlance of the industry, they call them backpack drills, but they actually give you real core. Now, they won't give you too much core. They'll give you, 10, 15 meters of core, that sort of thing. But why that's important is, like in a place like Snowball, where it's very precipitous, every drill site has to be built. You got to build a pad, and it takes time. And then when you put the big drill on, usually the way it works is you drill 150 meter hole, maybe 300 meter, depending where you're going. Usually the system works that you drill the whole hole, then you get the hole cut and sampled in the field, and it generally goes off as a hole to the lab, and then you wait for the results back for the whole hole from the lab. So there's a big hole, it just delays everything. So the idea we've had with reference to the sweet spot I was telling you that we think we may have put our finger on at Snowball, we're going to try to hit it with the little drill right out the gate while we get the big pads built. And this is also true at Golden Line, where we've got some really juicy stuff. It is exciting up there. Golden Line looks better than it did this time last year, but we're going to try to turn around. You can imagine if we can deliver a short hole in a day or two, we ship that right off to the lab and get our results back that fast, right? We'll put them on rush if need be, just to get the real news cycle kicked in before the big drills come on, right? So it'll just boost that flow. And that should deliver some pretty darn good results, I think, because the rock that will be drilled are some of the rock outcrops that we just talked about in the news.
Okay.
So
leave me with a few thoughts, if you don't mind, Kevin. Which is, like I say, if I look at just the basics of your performance of the last 12 months, I'm looking at your market cap. I'm looking at fundamentals. You got some cash, and you got three different targets. There's a bunch of companies in the same position, it feels like. And for me to kind of wade my way through this white noise, a sea of noise, all saying the same thing. What am I buying into from you guys? Why should I be putting my money in your company?
Well, I would say, firstly, if you're looking to put money in, it should be money into several, but not too many, but several little players like us. And you should be looking for people, a team, and you got to have a team. The team has to be good, because you can't get, with the industry being as busy as you say it is, as we know it is, all that white noise out there, to get things done in a timely way, to get almost anything, you got to have the connections and reputation. And we have that. To get drills, to get aircraft, all of that. We have it all. We can get it when we need it. So you want to put it in because we have the team. We have also delivered massive discoveries before. And the saddle, again, looping back, Newmont has just bought out GT Gold. And they paid, what was it, I think it works out actually to more like $3.65 a share, actually, when you factor in all the warrants and everything else. They just bought them out. In my view, they could easily have paid double that, but I won't go there for the time being. So we have the team, we have the money. What more can I really say? We have the properties, obviously, in the prime geological real estate, but everybody claims to have that, but we do. And we know what we're doing. We're not Johnny come latelys. That's another thing. Honestly, you got to look at these people. Who's coming into these companies? How are they creating those companies? Are they through these SPACs? I laugh at the SPAC business. SPAC is just a CPC, right? We've used CPCs in Canada for years, right? That's all a SPAC is. But anyway, you're attracting all kinds of people who don't know a hill of beans about this business. We're only into this business now because it's hot. They all want to make a lot of money. Well, they should. That's fine. I don't mind anybody wanting to make a lot of money. But the point is, they're not doing it because they really have deep connections in the industry, or really, they'll be gone as soon as the industry melts down. And this industry does melt down periodically, right? The big ups and downs. So that's all I can say. Avoid the Johnny come latelys. A team that's done it before, that does have good geological real estate, that maybe has some results in the ground, that drill. It's not just a hope machine, although hope is a big part of it. But does that address? How else would I differentiate ourselves? Well, we're honest guys and gals. A lot of gals in this business now, I got to tell you, and probably a few dishonest ones too.
There's a lot of dishonest ones. Kevin, lovely to catch up with you. I appreciate you coming on and telling us the story. I'm really happy that you've got the money to do the stuff that you need to do and want to do. Stay in touch with us. Let us know how you get on with that program that you're rolling out. When does it actually kick off? When does that drilling start, do you think?
Well, better than last year. We'll be going, we hope to be drilling by June 15th on Golden Line. And so to give you an example of how we're able to work things with contractors, we've got the same contractor doing both projects. That's what we're asking for. They will put one drill on Golden Line, and we'll have one crew. And so we'll do Golden Line first, leave the drill there. We do the first program there. leave the drill on site, ready to go over to snowball. So snowball drilling will start in the probably say around the 25th or so of July. And that's later than last year because we did learn about the weather phenomena, localized weather phenomena. Clearly the weather is best in August and September on snowball. So we do snowball, and then we go back to Golden Line if Golden Line results are really looking good, so we get going, and hopefully that earlier start over there too. We get good, quick results. We get them into the lab fast. We put them on rush. Last year, Matt, they stopped taking rush. The labs wouldn't take rush after about the 5th of August. Just stop everything. We had one sample, one hole, I think we managed to get in on rush, turned it around in 2 weeks. Then it all stopped. Dead. Yeah. So that's what we'll do. And by the way, we'll be working on both properties regardless ahead of time. As I said, with the little drill, we'll get going. So I should differentiate there. We'll try to get the little drill underway, maybe early July, actually, over at Snowball. We get it underway maybe even ahead of June 15th over at Golden Line, right? So that's the little drill versus the big one. So, and we'll be doing more geophysics. That was very effective at Golden Line last year. We tightened up the lines, and then we tightened up the spacing along the lines, and it just gave you much better definition on it helps you separate the noise from the good stuff, right? By getting your density up like that. We'll be doing more. And by the way, there is something we didn't actually mention. Before we go, I will. Over at the Golden Line, we've been focused on the GL1 main target there, which was the historical Newmont zone. And that's a really substantial zone. That's the one where we think it may be better just down dip a bit at about 150 meter level. So this would be a high grade route to what's going on surface. But just 800 meters to the north, we have a developing prospect called GL1 North Ridge. And it's a grass-covered ridge, which is carrying very high gold and silver in soils, as well as other trace elements, up to 15 grams per ton gold in the soils. And it's real soil, not talus fine. It's grass-covered up there. And this is the hole I mentioned before, that we actually drilled this thing last summer. We want results back for it. That result may come in, depends on the labs, but we should, I hope, have that in June. Well, June, yeah. But now I'm not saying we don't know. I'm not expecting that hole to be blowout necessarily. We just don't know. Like our first hole at Saddle North a few years ago, the guys kind of dumped on it. It didn't look that hot. But when the results came back, we could see, and it was a vertical hole, the assays, sample to sample, were going up all the way down the hole, from sub-economic to, marginally economic to economic, and then into pretty good looking, right? And that was a 250 meter vertical hole there. They didn't even log the last 40 meters of the hole. It was snowing. They didn't log it in the field. They kind of blew it off. They didn't even sample it until months after the fact, right? That was the discovery hole for Saddle North. Okay, so over at Golden Line, GL1 North Ridge, the golden soil anomalies, it's blossomed further since we even drilled that hole. We did a lot more sampling. We're going to go over there, do more detailed geophysics. We're going to get the results of that hole. We may have actually drilled it the wrong way too. So we'll get that. That's every bit as big as a prospect as GL1 main is. Yeah. And by the way, they're busy. I hear talk that they're putting a bridge across the Toodoggin River, which is between us and Benchmark. I don't know if you've interviewed Benchmark.
We have, yeah.
Yeah. So there's probably a bridge going in there, temporary bridge at least. There used to be one. We can now get, if that comes in, we'll be able to get to within something like 19 kilometers, even closer driving. At the minute, it's about 25 kilometers as the by chopper from Benchmark to our site. But they used to be able to drive there years ago.
Right. So a lot going on. Like I say, stay in touch. Let us know as things progress. If you get some interesting numbers coming back from the assay, we'd be delighted to pick up the phone and take your call. Okay, Kevin? Appreciate it.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Matt. I'll do that for sure. And we'll be working hard for shareholders. I'm a big shareholder and we know what we got to do.